New York City is struggling to support the influx of migrants being sent from the southern border. Mayor Eric Adams is asking for federal aid to help shelter and feed the asylum seekers. And last night on CBS News Primetime with John Dickerson, CBS News reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez pointed out it's a difficult task given Congress's lack of bipartisanship on border security and immigration policy.
Congress has not made any significant updates and changes to the U.S. immigration system since the 1990s, and because of that, Republican and Democratic administrations have taken unilateral action and have adopted unilateral policies on this issue in the meantime. And now we find ourselves in a situation where all of these executive actions are challenged in federal court, or at least most of them.
Ilze Thielmann is here with us in Studio 57 to talk a little bit more about this. She is the director of Team TLC NYC, a grassroots organization that helps to provide basic needs and support to asylum seekers and migrants. And the organization has been up and running for 2.5 years now. But I would think that in the last year or so, you've seen a major shift. You know, we've done stories on this. We've seen migrants get off of buses in New York City. We've seen almost warehouses where they have to end up, at least temporarily. But I don't think a lot of people know what happens to them afterwards. So what is the current state with the influx of migrants that we saw coming from the border here to New York City?
Well, thanks so much for having me. Very happy to be speaking to this issue. Yeah, we've had about 40,000 new asylum seekers enter into the city of New York in the last few months, in the last 6 months or so, 7 months. And about 28,000 of them do remain in the shelter system here in New York. That is overcrowding the shelter system, and the shelter system was already in trouble before this started, so this has really weighed on it. However, the notion that the city is being overwhelmed by this is, I think, a falsehood. Most of the people in the city of New York are not seeing a huge change from this influx. It's a huge, huge city. So 28,000 people entering the city and being in the shelter system is not impacting the average New Yorker that much. The shelter system has always been a mess, and this is just highlighting it, and maybe that's something that's positive that will come of this, that we will now try to correct this. But right now, what is happening, a lot of families have been sent to hotels that have been turned into these humanitarian emergency relief and resource centers, which are specifically dedicated to asylum seekers who are arriving. They receive services there and food, and hopefully get some assistance in moving forward with their lives. There are mixed reviews on how that has been working, but the fact that they have been put in hotels, in brick and mortar places with a door that they can close and have some privacy was a great step forward from what the city was originally doing with tent camps in Orchard Beach, tent camps on Randall's Island. Unfortunately, now the city is returning to that first model. They're not building a tent camp, but they're going to be putting people in a cruise ship terminal out in Brooklyn, again, on the water, in a flood zone in the winter, with cots lined up, 1,000 cots lined up right next to each other. So that's unfortunate because it seemed like the city had learned the lesson of don't put people in camps. Put them in actual brick and mortar buildings. Put them in hotels that are built for people to reside in. And now they're taking people out of the Watson Hotel, men primarily, and moving them back out to this situation.
You know, what's heartbreaking is what you pointed out, which is that although the press headlines and for political purposes, migrants are used as a way to either frighten Americans or to make people feel as if the arrival of these migrants will mean that American citizens and even people who aren't citizens get fewer services or that their taxes go up. But the reality remains, as you pointed out, I haven't seen anybody on the streets of New York. They're sadly, tragically invisible by and large. You mentioned that the system is broken. So how to fix it? Is it the city? Is it private investment that will make this better? You would assume that already millions, if not billions of dollars goes into trying to help migrants in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I always say I'm glad that it's not my job to fix it, because it is obviously a huge problem, but it is somebody's job to fix it, and I don't believe that they're taking that job seriously enough. We keep hearing
whose job is it to fix it?
Well, it's the mayor's office and the administration of the city.
What about the federal government?
The federal government is not here to fix the city right? The city shelters. Now, with the influx of the migrants, I do believe that the federal government should be having a greater role, that there should be federal funds, that there should be federal assistance in housing this particular population, because immigration is a federal issue, not a state issue, not a city issue. It's not a El Paso issue. It's not a Texas issue. So on that point, I do agree with Mayor Adams that there needs to be a federal effort made to address this. However, even though it is a federal problem, it is the people are here in the city. Right? It's not a Team TLC problem either. It should not be our responsibility to be feeding and housing and clothing these people either, but we're doing it.
He says he's meeting the city's moral and legal responsibilities. Does that fall in line with what you're seeing?
I disagree with that.
You disagree?
I disagree. I think that the city there is a right to shelter law, and there are very specific restrictions and regulations that define what it means to be in compliance with that law. The city has not been in compliance with that law. There are people who are sleeping in the doorways, in the reception areas of shelters because they haven't been able to get a bed. This new setup out in Brooklyn at the terminal does not comply with that. There are very strict restrictions on how close together cots can be. If you're going to have somebody in a communal situation like that, this does not comply. So I disagree with the fact that the statement that the city is complying, because they are not in strict compliance with the law. But the notion that they're complying with their moral obligation, I take even further offense to, because even if you could set up a camp somewhere that could check all the boxes and comply strictly with the law, putting people in these remote places where they have no access to services, no access to transport, no outlet for any sort of human interaction, and not assisting them in ways that now fall to the nonprofits like Team TLC and our partners, artists, athletes, activists, and others. That is not complying with your moral obligation. And again, I agree that this needs to be addressed on a federal level, but while it is in our city, we have to do everything we can to assist these people.
It's a tragic, horrible situation that these families find themselves in, trying to find a better life. I imagine that even in these shelters that are not adequate in your eyes, they are far better than where a lot of these individuals are coming from, but we need to do better. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thanks so much for having me.